It has been quite a drought this week for roster mania, but the Valorant gods finally decided to toss some hot roster mania news like Walter White tossing the pizza on the roof. And if you've been a fan of the channel, you would know this caught me by surprise. Many thought Munchkin was getting signed by another team, but lo and behold, it was T1 sweeping the rug out from under us. Welcome to Sinistry. Today we're dissecting T1's signing of Munchkin, why this is a big deal, and what this means for T1. We also need to answer probably the biggest question of the off-season. Did T1 just buy a guaranteed championship by stealing Gen.G's blueprint, or is copy-pasting a rival system a recipe for disaster? Let's be real, we got absolutely baited here. We talked about Munchkin on this channel a few times, and many of you were convinced he was retiring due to military service. But to be fair, maybe you saw his tweet saying that it was the end of his journey and it was time for a new adventure. And honestly, I can't blame you for thinking that he's going to do military service. I mean, it's a new adventure for sure. But it turns out the new journey he mentioned was a boot camp with a rival team. So going back to that tweet, I'm pretty sure he dropped that bombshell way too early in the off-season. And it got me curious. Why was Munchkin so sure he was leaving Gen.G? Munchkin's tweet was odd. There was no testing the market, his tweet sounded decisive and final. And when I think about it, I can only think of one simple reason. Gen.G and Munchkin didn't reach an agreement in the contract negotiations. They might have been negotiating all year long and Munchkin might have been asking for a raise, but Gen.G looked at the results and it showed the team only qualified on one international event this year. So Gen.G slammed their wallet shut. Add to that their expenses in the LCK and there's no way in hell Munchkin is getting that increase. But by not extending Munchkin, they let go of a seasoned IGL. I think they'll replace him with Lakia, which is obviously a downgrade. Sure, it's still a decent replacement, but it's like replacing a Mercedes with a Toyota. Sure, a Toyota will let you go places, but with a Mercedes, you get the best or nothing. Ain't that transition so clean? I think I should be charging for that. If any sponsors are watching, my email is on the homepage. Anyway, what do you think about this? Was Gen.G right to not extend Munchkin? Or is this another big fumble? Okay, so Gen.G lost a big asset in Munchkin. He was their IGL, their tactician, the one who translates the coach's system and structure to the server. But not only that, I believe Munchkin is also the one who instills discipline and control in the team. We'll see what happens with Lakia or whoever IGLs for Gen.G. But losing Munchkin was a big hit for the organization. Which brings me to why this is such a big deal. Going directly to a rival team creates a massive ripple effect throughout the whole Tier 1 ecosystem. Sure, Munchkin might have gone from T1 to Gen.G before, but back then, Gen.G was an afterthought. They were rebuilding. No one predicted they would be that strong. But what we have now is different. This is arguably the best IGL in the region, defecting to the other side. It's not just a business decision, it's also a deliberate tactical maneuver. Think about it. First it was Meteor, now it's Munchkin. If T1 signs a random player, they get stronger. You can consider that a +1. But when you sign the IGL of your biggest rival, you take one from them and you get stronger. It is basically a +2 power swing. Not only that, T1 is also getting a massive brain power buff. They didn't just buff themselves, they drained the smarts out of Gen.G. So most probably whatever Munchkin was asking from Gen.G, T1 gave it to him. And probably even more. But why is he worth it? Well, based on the recent T1 video, the team had a ton of problems shutting down in high pressure situations. And I think Munchkin fixes that instantly. He might not be a rap god, but I'd like to think he's a yap god. He's an IGL after all. And it goes without saying that he is also a Viper god. The man loves the Snake Lady more than anyone in the region, especially lurking A Haven on attack like no one else does. But more than that, what he adds to the team big time is discipline. Not that the team lacks discipline, but he's definitely going to raise it a couple of notches. Also in the T1 video, someone voicing over admitted they took fundamentals for granted and the results proved it. That, I think, is something Munchkin simply wouldn't allow. The guy is a workhorse. He grinds the game and watches countless hours of VODs just to gain the smallest advantage. I'm sure he'll be expecting the same with his teammates. He brings the championship pedigree T1 needs to secure another trophy. So that is basically what Munchkin brings to the table, but I saved the best for last because I think this point is special. I don't know about you, but I think Munchkin has the key to unlock Meteor. T1 Meteor was great. He was the Masters Bangkok MVP after all, but for me, Gen.G Meteor was a different beast. In my eyes, that player was more cerebral and more deadly. I think there's just something in the way Munchkin calls that Meteor instinctively understands, some kind of a special connection. And I think Munchkin will be able to once again unlock that ceiling for Meteor because of their familiarity with each other's playstyle. With Munchkin at the helm, I have high hopes for this roster. Once they hit their stride, I think they have the potential to be even more dangerous than the Shanghai Gen.G. So, where does this leave DH? Rumor says he's headed back to T1 Academy, which is the only logical play. T1 is done rolling the dice. When you have Stacks, Meteor, Munchkin, Izu and Buzz on the payroll, the goal changes from developing young talent to win now mode. But let's look closer because there were times when DH was an absolute monster on the server, leaving fans shocked at the demotion. But he isn't getting benched just because he's a rookie. He's getting demoted because of a specific mental boom that might have existed even before his days on the main roster. As I mentioned earlier, I watched the T1 documentary and there was a moment where Meteor grills DH on his questionable decision making and you can somewhat feel the air leave the room. This is where the gap between a world champion and a prodigy really gets exposed. You can have all the mechanics in the world, but sometimes it all just comes down to discipline. In that video, Meteor is preaching about winning conditions, but DH is talking about feeling the vibe. Meteor simply views the game on a higher plane, chale.
Higher plane, Charlie.
DH views it as a playground to limit test his mechanics. So DH goes back to development to save him from burning out, and T1 replaces him with a player who is an emblem of discipline. But if you think about it, we've already seen this movie before. A team stacks the roster with stars and tries to brute force a trophy. With that said, I want your takes. Does this T1 super team actually lift a trophy in 2026? Or is this going to be another classic super team implosion like we've seen a dozen of times before? Let me know if you trust the process like Frost did. So, if you look at the roster on paper, I wouldn't say that T1 necessarily needed to get Munchkin. You already have Stacks, Meteor, and you can even add Izu to that list. 3 guys I consider to be smart players, so why add Munchkin to the mix? Well, because in Valorant, there's no such thing as too many brains. It might be overkill, but it definitely gets the job done. The T1 video also focused on Stacks right before the G2 match, specifically discussing how he was denying his nervousness which led to the team's failure. The philosophy is simple. When you don't admit you're nervous, nobody can help you. You isolate yourself. But if you let the team know, the team can step in and carry the mental load. It might sound soft to some, but that specific lack of honesty is exactly why T1 and a couple of other teams crumbled. I'm talking about you, Sen. So, how does the hierarchy actually work? Well, I think Munchkin will definitely be taking over IGL duties. Stacks will be a voice for the team, but he shifts to more of a mid-rounder role like John Cutie and Sen, setting him free as a fragger because honestly, that's what fans want out of him. So this signing might not be getting as much buzz as other signings, but if I were you, I wouldn't sleep on this one. I believe that this is one of the most impactful moves in the offseason that disrupts the hierarchy of those at the top. But with a roster this stacked, the big question is, where does everyone actually fit? Well, if I were to predict, I think it will go down like this. Buzz would definitely be on Duelist, Izu would be the Smoker, Duelist Flex, Stacks on the Scan Initiator, Meteor on the Senti, and Munchkin will obviously be the Viper God, occasionally flexing onto KO. But who knows, there's a new meta and maybe we could see Munchkin on Harbor too. Again, I think this is a massive win for T1. People might think that T1 just bought Gen.G's blueprint, but I disagree. I believe Gen.G's system was birthed by Solo and HSK, so copying it one-to-one is impossible in my eyes. It just so happens that Munchkin is an absolute god at implementing coaching concepts, which is why T1 likely had him on their radar for months before pulling the trigger. So to put it simply, T1 didn't want Gen.G's blueprints, they wanted a top-of-the-line processor that could take any coach's idea and execute it on the server precisely as intended. Anyway, we're less than a week away from finding out if this roster is a super team or just another super disaster class on Soup Valorant League. Can Buzz utter the words,
"What's up, guys? Who's the best team in Korea now? Come on!"
or better yet, who's the best in the world? We will know soon enough. Do you think Munchkin is the missing piece, or is this roster still lacking something? Let me know in the comments below, and as always, I'll see you guys in the comments. Leave a like if you enjoyed, hit that sub button so you don't miss out, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.